Hello guys, welcome to this video. So in this video we will be building a full stack web application, user CRUD kind of a application in Bun.js and React.js. So Bun.js, as you all know, it's a great alternative to Node.js. It is used to build out my backend API server where we will be storing these user details in the MongoDB database, and in the React.js front end we are actually using React.js to actually make to display these data and making requests to the backend API, which is hosted by Bun.js, and we are displaying this using Tailwind CSS in the front end. You will see we have the username, email address, we have edit option, we can even delete the users as well. And let me show you in MongoDB right here, we have the database right here of BunCRUD app. Inside this, we have a table of users where we are storing the user information such as ID is the primary key. It is automatically inserted, name, email address. So currently, if I refresh now, there will be a single record because we deleted that record. So there is a single record in the table, and also if I refresh the application, there is a single record. It As I click the delete button without page refresh, it automatically deletes it. Now the data is deleted from the table as well, nothing is present. So I can basically type the name and then I can provide the email address. What it will do, it will make a request to the backend API. It will actually insert this record in the table, and we are using Bun.js in our server.ts file. We are using TypeScript along with the Bun.js to actually build out this backend API. This server is listening on localhost 3000, and our back front end server is running. You will see post request is created with body, name, email address. And also if you check the browser console, we also get a message. If I type the name right here and the email, click on the create option, you will see two records will be inserted. So in this way, you can see that two records are there. We can now click the edit options if you want to update the details. So automatically pre-filled, it will have the name right here and the email address of whichever record you want to edit it. Simply I can change the name one autumn 123 and change the email as well. Click on update, and now the inserted values will be get updated instantly. If I refresh the database, this entry will also get updated. Similarly, we have the delete button. As you click the delete button, that entry will be deleted from the interface and also from the backend API, the table as well. You'll see that. So we will try to build this user CRUD application, create, read, update, delete, all these four operations we will perform. I will show you step by step how to build this. For this tutorial, we are using Bun.js. As I told you, it's a fast all-in-one JavaScript runtime environment similar to Node.js. It's a great alternative to it, and it is growing popular day by day. So you should invest time in Bun.js as well. So a lot more developers are using it. It's a great alternative to Node.js and also Dino.js. Dino is not that popular, but Bun.js is very much. So now let's get started. I have given the full source code in the description of the video. You can directly purchase it with full documentation and support. I will support you once you purchase it. If you have any sort of problem, you will get this full directory structure, full documentation as well. So the link is given. You can directly purchase it from Google Drive. You will actually get a zip file after you make the payment from procodestore.com. So the link is given in the description to purchase the full source code. So now let's get started, guys, by building this project. So what I will do, I will simply close this project and I will simply close this as well. I will navigate into my projects directory, and here I will simply make a brand new Bun.js project. So for this, what we need to do, we will navigate to our project directory, and right here we need to simply invoke a command which is bun create react, because we are using React.js as the front end. If you are using a different front end, Vue.js, you will write like this, but we are using React. So I will simply type React and then the followed by the name of the app, my bun crud. I can just do it. So this is actually the command bun followed by the create command, then react, and then followed by my bun crud. So in this way, you just need to, this is your name of the project. So if you just enter it, So it will simply say to you to create a project using create React app, run bun create React app, or if you want to create a React.js using Vite engine. Vite is slightly faster, guys. If you don't want to use the built-in create React app, Vite, if you don't know about it, it's a, similar to Webpack, but it's very fast. It's a development environment to actually build your projects. So this is their documentation, official website. You can build out Vue.js, Svelte, React.js, all these front-end apps using Vite. So I will be building it using Vite. So simply, I will simply say, I will modify this command, bun create Vite. Simply, I will type this command, bun create Vite. Simply type this command, and now it will ask you some options. What is your project name? So you can modify the project name. Let me give a different name, bun user CRUD app. And then here you need to select your framework. Either you are using vanilla JavaScript or Vue.js, React, Preact, Lit, Svelte, Solid, Quick. So I will be using our React. So here you need to spell TypeScript you are using or JavaScript. I will be using TypeScript, and then I will be, it has, you can see it has scaffold a sample project. I will cd into the directory, and then I will say bun install. So now it will not use npm, it will install the bun right here. It will install all these packages. So once it is installed, it will give you a notification message. You will see that. So it is really fast as compared to npm. So now we can simply open it inside VS Code. So this will look something like this. It has created this app.tss file. This is the React.js project. Now to run this, it's very simple. Bun, we run the command npm run dev. This will start the Vite development engine, which is localhost 5173. If you see that. So we are actually invoking this command. If you see package.json, this is actually the command that we are running, npm run dev. So this will actually start the Vite development engine. So it is now running this. So we can simply open localhost 5173. You can see this is actually your sample React.js app running on this. So what we need to do, guys, we also need to create a server.ts folder right in the root directory. So just I will create this file, server.ts. So we'll be using TypeScript for building our backend API. So just make this .ts, this is extension. Now to actually build your Bun.js server, it's very easy. We will be importing the serve method from the base package bun, and then after that we just need to say we need to import Mongo client and object ID from the package MongoDB. So both these packages we do need to install. So what we need to do, we need to invoke this command, which is right inside this. We will say bun add @types node and MongoDB. So MongoDB is actually the package in Bun.js to actually interact with the MongoDB database, and just add this bun add followed by the package. So these two packages we need. Simply enter and it is actually installing these packages. So just wait for the installation to finish. So once it is installed, it will actually install this. You will see that. So now it has successfully installed this. So now we can start our basically a async function, start server, and we will basically call this function right here. So inside this function, what we need to do, we just need to start a basic server. So you'll use this serve method, and right here inside this, it takes two arguments. First is the actual function. We will call this function as fetch, and the second argument is the port number. We will be running this server on port number 3000. So this is actually, it takes, I think, just let me cross check. sorry, is equal to is not there because we are using TypeScript support colon 3000. So this server will start on port 3000, and we can actually make a simple get request right here. So we can actually make inside this fetch method, we can simply say if condition, if the method triple equal to get. So if the method is get, then in that case this method here will be passed right here. If you see, uh, we first of all need to get the request, whatever the request has come, the URL. So we can say new URL, and then we can say request.url. So after that we can extract the path and the search params from this URL. We are using destructuring, and based upon that we can actually check is simple path. So if the user, let's suppose the user write a path for starting application, so I make this path slash API slash users. If this is the path right here, then we can simply make a simple get request. If this is a get request, in that case we can simply return a message back to the user. So we can even get this method as well right here. We can get the method by using the request.method property. Request.method property. So here we can simply check if the method is get. If it's a get request, then in that case we can simply return a response back to the user. So you can use the return new response, and here we can simply return an object to the user, simply a object hello world. And we need to json.stringify whenever you are returning any object. We do need to actually use json.stringify. That's all. So we have simply made a simple backend server, guys, using Bun.js. It's very simple. It is slightly complicated if you are using Node.js, but I think it's very easy. If you have the syntax, we just made a simple start server async function, and we are using this serve method which comes from the Bun.js base library, and here it is taking the first function as a fetch function here, and the second argument is the actual port number on which the backend API will run. And in this fetch function we actually get the URL which the user writes, and then we check if the method is a get request or port request by using request.method property. And this is actually the path here we are configuring it, slash API slash users. If I want to run this Bun.js, you can simply run bun run followed by the file name. So here the file name is server.ts. So if you just enter it, so now the server is listening on localhost 3000. If I go to that slash API slash users, you will see that a backend server will be returning this message hello world. So this message is returned to us whenever we visit localhost 3000 slash API slash users. So we have successfully made a backend API route using Bun.js. So in this way you can do this, and now we will simply delete this. We don't need to return hello world. Instead, for the time being, I just make this and write some more things right here. So first of all, we do need to, inside the start server method, we need to make the connection to the database, MongoDB database. So right here, so we are actually using the MongoDB Compass software, which actually allows you to configure your MongoDB tables. So it's a GUI kind of a software. It's completely free. So just type MongoDB Compass and simply download this. So this comes with this UI, so GUI library, graphical user interface. So install this and simply click on the connect option. So you will be granted, so this will be the connection string that you will get. Typically MongoDB database runs on 27017 port number. So click on the connect option, you're connected. Now you need to create a new database. So we will simply create a database for this application, which will be Bun CRUD app. This will be the database we create, and here we need to simply create a test collection. This is required whenever you create a database. So simply click the database is created. Now you'll simply write this inside our code. Now to connect it. So you'll make a simple client. We'll use the Mongo client. We are simply using Mongo client, which comes with MongoDB. And here you need to specify the string. So here you specify the string right here, MongoDB, localhost 27017. And also here we need to specify the database name as well, client.db, and whatever database name that you have given. So mine is Bun user CRUD. You can cross verify this. Bun CRUD app, sorry, Bun CRUD app. After you specify this, now we can simply create the collection, the table. This will automatically get created. Users. This user table will get created automatically whenever you run this code. And so after this, guys, what we need to do, we also need to write here. Let me delete this for now. So right here, after you get this information from the fetch method, whatever URL the user has hidden and the path name and the search parameter, we also need to add our course headers, which is really necessary because if you don't write these headers in the backend API, you will get a cross origin resource sharing error. Whenever you call these methods from the React front end, you will get a cross origin resource sharing error in the browser console. So it's necessary that you add this. So it's mandatory. So need to add these headers object. So in Node.js Express also we do this by it has a built-in course module, but in Bun.js we do need to manually do this. These headers access control allow origin star and access. You can even this star means that you are allowing requests from all the front end. So anybody can make request to your backend API. So if you only want to allow a specific URL, you can just type here. I will be calling it from 5173. So I can only provide the specific URL will only make request to my backend API. So we're restricting the access. This is really good practice to actually just allow the access to a simple only applications that you are on. So here we are allowing the methods get, post, put, delete, and options. These are the 5 methods we are allowing the access. The third header is access control allow headers. So we are allowing the headers which will be content type. And the last one is access control maximum age. So what is the maximum age of these headers? So I will say 86,400 seconds, which typically is 24 hours. So these are the headers object right here. And right here we will simply have a if condition right here. If request method is set to options, then in that case we need to return the response as null, and we need to pass these headers. We just need to write this configuration code, guys. This is just done for course origin, prevent that error from happening. Now we are here inside our /API/users. So if the user hits, let's suppose if the user hits /API/users, so here we will simply make a simple request to actually return all the users which are currently present in the table. So we will make this code, we will write the code for this. So for doing this, it's very easy. So if this is a get request, so for doing this, we will be console logging a message as well on the console that get request for retrieving all users from the table. And now to get these users, we can simply say all users await. So just make sure this method is async. That's why we put async function right here. We can use await here, and then you can simply say await the users, and it contains this method MongoDB find method, and it will find all these users, convert them into a array, and then we can return this as a response back to the user as JSON. So return new response JSON.stringify, and all users, and the second parameter will be the status property. Status is 200 for a successful response, and we'll pass the headers as well. This is really important. We need to pass these headers that you configured, which is the CORS errors. So if you don't pass these headers, you will get a CORS issue. So if you directly write this inside the browser /API/users, you need to restart the application. Just restart it whenever you make any sort of change. Bun run server.ts. So now you will see currently if you go to localhost 3000/API/user, currently it actually returns empty because nothing is present in the database. If you refresh Bun CRUD app, you can see a console log request is also being made. Get request for retrieving all these users from the table. So we have this database, if you see Bun CRUD app, and now we just need to retrieve these users. So how we can do that? Let me just insert some test users. Now guys, for the time being, what we will do, I will just inside this get request, I will simply insert a sample user just to show you in the table. So now what we do, basically we insert a sample user. We can simply define a user, and we do have a method to actually insert a user. So we can simply write here await followed by the table name, collection name, which is user, and MongoDB does contain this method which is insert one record, and here we will provide our object which will contain two fields. The first is the name of the person and the second one is the email. So here you don't need to provide the schema, you can directly insert it automatically. MongoDB will create the table and insert this record, and automatically the primary key will be automatically added. So here we are not providing the primary key. You can see that we define the user, that's all. We are using this insert one method which is provided by MongoDB package that we imported early on. Mongo client, it has this. Now after that it will find this and return this as an array. If I now restart the server and navigate to /API/users, now it will create one record right here. You will see automatically this primary key will be returned to us. This is a name that we provided, email address as well. If I show you, basically if I refresh, a table will be created, a collection user. Currently there is a single record available, so that's why. Again if I refresh, it will again create the same record, and now there are two records available in the database. You will see that. So if I refresh now there will be two records. So we are actually inserting it and we are getting these records right here from the table using Bun.js. Now we will be doing it programmatically using React.js. So right inside our React.js project, just go to app.tsx and you can just remove everything from here. You can just have a simple heading, hello world. You can delete everything from here. We don't need this. And now one module, guys, we do need to install here, which is concurrently. If you don't know about this module, it allows you to run multiple commands at once. So if you have a different front end and different back end, then concurrently makes it very much easy to run commands concurrently at the same time. This is the package, 4 million weekly downloads are there. So you can just install it as a dev dependency, npm i-save-dev concurrently. This is a command, npm i-save-dev concurrently. So simply install this. So it will actually install it and there is actually a library, sorry, command that you can use in concurrently to actually run the project. So this is actually the command. So this is the script that you need to write, a start script. So just after it installs, go to your package.json file and just add the start script, paste it. So what this it is doing, it is concurrently followed by, it is running this command bun run server.ts and npm run dev. It is running these two commands at the same time. So I can just now need to just say npm run start. It will start my React.js application and also the bun run server.ts. It will start the backend and the front end at the same time. You can see that. So it makes it very much easy. Now we can navigate to the React.js project. So this is app.txs, you will see that. So hello world is say, you can see that. So if I navigate to the API, this also will be running. So now the API is also running at the same time and the front end application is also running. So just install that module. So now guys, coming back to the React.js, right in the app level component, we will simply define an interface as we are using TypeScript. So this interface will include three properties. First is the actual ID, primary key of the table, the name, which will be of type string again, and the email address as well. So these three fields we will be storing it in the table. So we are simply defining a simple interface in TypeScript. So after we do this, we need to declare a state variable which will be user set user, and here we will be using the useState hook which is provided by React. It automatically imported, and here we just need to define the, here we need to pass the user interface that we defined right here, and this will be an array right here like this, and in the parentheses we just need to say the initial value will be an empty object, so not this one, square brackets. So here we are defining this, we are passing this interface which contains these three properties, ID, name and email, to this useState hook. So the default value will be empty object. So after you do this, we need to also have a use effect hook, use effect. So if you don't know about use effect guys, it actually runs every time, runs for the very first time when the component mounts. It's a life cycle method. So here we, in the argument here, we need to write here square bracket. So this simply means that it runs for the very first time when the component mounts. So right here we need to actually execute a function right here, fetch user. So right here in the, you will define this function fetch users. So this will be a async function, and right here we will make a backend request to the Bun.js API. Your fetch request http localhost 3000/API/users. We're making a simple fetch request, and then we will getting this data response.json, very simple, and then we'll set users whatever the data is coming. So we can simply say console log data just to check. So if you just refresh your application, make a request, it will run, and you will see an array will come right here. So total 8 records are present. We'll see that. So all these records will have properties, name and email right here. So now to display them on the screen, it's very simple. What we need to do right here, in the components, we need to make a components folder right here, and just make a first component as user list.typescript, and just make it functional component. So here we will be using the, we'll be including this component right here, user list. Just import this, at the very top, VS Code will automatically do us. So user list is showing right here if you see. So now here we need to loop through all the users which are there and show it. So how to do this? It's very simple. We got this set user right here if you see. We have initialized the state by using this set users. Now what we need to do, when we are calling this user list, we just need to pass this users object as a prop like this. So now we need to, as we define the component, we do need to actually expect this argument. So right here we will be accepting this to be, we'll be destructuring it users. So we will be accepting this users to be passed as a prop. So I think you can just write like this. So users is declared but its value is not used. You can even write the first way as it is. This is perfectly fine. You can write this. You just need to use this value. So now to use this inside the JSX, what we can do, we can have our div tag, and here we can use our map function to actually loop through the user. So right here we can define the key parameter. So this will be the ID, user.id, and user dot underscore ID, sorry. User implicitly has any type. Okay, just make it any right here. Just write dot underscore any, because we are in TypeScript, so we just need to make sure we define the type as well of the variable. So right here, after we do this, we can define it inside the paragraph user.name, and in the second here we can define user.email. So if you see now, we are actually displaying these values like this. So we also need to use Tailwind, guys. So what I can do is that go to Tailwind CSS and include the CDN for this. So just directly include this play CDN, copy this, and just go to your React.js public HTML file like index.html. Just after the title, paste the CDN, and right here we can actually give classes to it. So give these class name, which will be padding 4. So these are all Tailwind classes. Shadow SM. And to this, if you just refresh, it will allow these classes. Now it has some shadow as well. You will see that. So we also need to give this class, which is text large, font medium, and also to this also text small, text gray 600. So now you can see that we are actually, whatever is there in the table right here, these much of records are there. We also need to add two more buttons to these, which is the edit button and the delete button. So for each one. So after this paragraph, we just need to add these two buttons. First button will be responsible for edit. The second one will be for delete. So we need to give it the classes. Class name is MR2, PX4, PY2, and background will be yellow, 500, text white, and the button will be rounded. It will also have the shadow. When we hover onto this, the background will change to 600. And similarly, if you just see, we have the edit button ready. Similarly, we need to give it the classes to the delete button as well. So just the background color will change to red color. Apart from that, all the things are constant. So background color we have changed to red color. So you will now see we are actually uh, displaying all the details, all the records from the table in our React.js front end. Now we just need to add a simple user form where we actually allow the user to do this, to add a user. So for doing this, we need to go to app.txs, and right here we need to actually make another component in the components folder. So just make this component as user form dot tsx. So again, this will be a functional component, and inside this component I just need to write before this user form. It will be imported like this. So now inside this component, guys, we need to pass three methods: fetch users as properties, as props. So these three props will be first one for fetching the number of users, editing user for actually updating the details. For now I am just uh, fetching the user. We are just providing this method name fetch user like this. So now we need to define this component. So here we'll be defining a simple interface user form props, and it will actually contains three properties. First is the fetch users method, which will be passed as a function, and editing user, which will also be passed as a function, which is will be of type user. If it is not defined, then it will value will be null. And set editing user. So these are all used for update process, and here we'll define the user to be type. If the user is not present, then null. This is all TypeScript, guys. We do need to define the types of the variable. That's why it is saying that cannot find the name user. So again, we need to again define this interface of user. So inside this we have the ID field of type string, name of string, and email of string. So you can see we have defined these interfaces. So right here, whenever we actually are getting inside this, we are having these three properties passed: fetch users, editing user, and set editing user as properties. So whenever you are passing it, for now we are simply passing fetch user, so I will simply delete this. So we are passing this fetch users, and right here we need to declare some state for our application. So first will be the name field, set name, use state. Again we use it, initial value will be null, and the second variable will be for storing the email address. So email set email, use state will be nothing. So we have declared two variables, name and email, for storing it. Use state is imported from React. Again, we'll be using the same hook, use effect. So here we will simply say we will basically just set name, set email. We will just reset the values, set name to set email to as it is. For now we will not write this. When it comes to update operation, then we will write the use effect. For now we just need a simple form inside JSX to actually allow the user to enter a brand new entry in the form. So we will have a form, and inside this we will have the on submit, handle submit. This function will execute when we submit the form. So we need to define this function, const handle submit. E parameter will be passed right here. So E will be of type any. So for a clearer thing, you can simply write react.form event. So this is the react.form event, and just make this function as async. So now inside the JSX, we just need to have a div section, margin bottom 2, and here we'll be having a label to actually allow the user to enter the name. So block text sm font medium text gray 700. These are all Tailwind classes. So the label will be simply name. And after this, we will have a simple input field where we are allowing the user to enter the name. The value will be simply whatever is the name. And we will be giving a class to it, empty one, block w full px3, py2, border gray 300. Let it make it rounded as well. Shadow on small devices, focus, outline none, outline none, focus ring indigo 500, focus border indigo. So this tutorial is not about Tailwind, guys. So what I will do, these are a lot of classes, but I will, all the source code you will get, I will simply paste it the classes. You will see, you will get this nice little name input field where you will allow the user to enter the name. Similarly, we'll simply copy paste to simply save some time, paste it. I will simply change it to email, and here we will simply allow the user to write email address. So now we will here write name and email, and after this we have a simple button to actually add user, and we will simply bind a, this button will be of type submit, and px4 py2, these are all Tailwind classes once again. bg blue 500, text white, rounded medium devices, shadow sm devices, small devices, hover, we will change it to this color. This is actually the interface which is ready, guys. We have simple form. We will now to, if you see, we can't enter anything inside this form. This is because we need to actually set a on change event handler to this input field. So we have this attribute inside React.js on change. So here we need to attach these. So E, and then we say set name to be whatever the value is written, e.target.value. Same thing we need to do it for the email field as well. So this will be input type email. So on change. So set email e.target.value. Now we can write anything right here. You will see this validation, please include @ symbol. So as we click this, nothing will happen, but we now need to define this function which we handle submit. This function will execute, which is handle submit. So e parameter, first of all, we do need to prevent the auto submission of the form. We can say .e.prevent default, and then we need to make a simple backend request to actually add a new user to the backend table. So for doing this, we can say await fetch request http localhost 3000 slash API slash users, and here the method here will be post, and here we need to pass the headers. So headers will be simply content type application slash JSON, and here we need to provide the body. So body will include actually JSON.stringify the object, whatever object that you are passing. So we are actually passing the name and the email. So this is there in these two variables. We are setting it using the set email function and set name function right here or in on change. So when the value is changed, so everything will be there. Just format the document, and then followed by after this is done, we can just this is my function right here. If you see fetch request, after this we can reset the values after the form is values are submitted. So we can simply say set name to be nothing, set email to be also nothing. That's all. So if you just refresh now, type the details, but you will see nothing will happen. As I click add user, it will make this request, but it is saying that has been blocked by CORS because we haven't written this request in the backend API of Bun.js. So go to your server.ts file and just need to make this request, post request, because we only have this only a get request is there. So here we are, if you see in the user form, we are actually making a post request in this route slash API slash users. So we do need to define this request. So we will have a simple if condition once again for the method. This time we will be checking for a post request which will be coming. So right outside this if condition, we will have another if condition if the method comes out to be post. In that case, we need to destructure the body request.json like this, and then we can simply console log a message post request with body. This is actual body which is coming. Now we just need to insert the data. So we can say that const result and await users dot insert one body, and then we can simply return a response. Return new response JSON.stringify result, and then the status here will be 201 for successful insertion, and we also need to pass headers as well. That's all. That's all that we need to do, guys. And what I will do is that I will simply delete this table to start from scratch, drop collection. So now there is no table present. If you refresh your browser in the front end, nothing will be present. If you just go to, okay, I think we forgot to do one thing. In the get request, I am still having this line which is inserting these records. Well, I will delete this line. We don't need this now. You can delete this. So again, you can drop the collection. So now there is no table present, guys. So as you refresh now, nothing is present in the application. Okay, I get the point. I need to restart the server whenever I make changes. to our Bun.js server file. So just you need to restart. So now we do need to drop this collection. So if you refresh now, there will be no data present. This will be the thing right here. If you now enter the name, email address, click on add user. Now if you refresh, there will be one record added. And if you check the table as well, refresh it, table will be created and one record will be inserted. You will see that. So we are now actually able to insert records using this form field that we provided in the React frontend, and we are calling it the Bun.js backend API. So one problem is this, guys. If you see, have as you actually submit the record, click on this button, it is not automatically instantly adding or reflecting in the UI. We need to refresh the page. For tackling this, it's very easy. Go to your user list, sorry, user form component. So right here, we need to call the fetch user function right here. Call this function fetch user function. This will instantly update the UI without having to refresh the page. So it will actually call this fetch user function. So here we are, if you see, here we are calling this component app.tss. We are passing this fetch user function. Now we just need to define this. We have already defined this function. We are passing this as a property to this component user form, fetch user. We are calling it. But this will actually call this function. It will actually return all the records from this database. If you refresh now, if I add the record here, brand new record, let me add my own name, Gautam, and Gautam@gmail.com. Click on add user. You will see that now this record is successfully added. Without refreshing the page, we are adding it. So now, guys, in the next section, what we will do, we will tackle the process for handling the edit operation and the delete operation. So when we click these buttons, nothing is happening. In the next section, we will tell you how to tackle this. Now, guys, in this section we will be tackling about first of all I will show you the delete operation. Delete operation is little bit easy. You need to go to the user form component, user form.tsx, and here you will simply bind a click handler to the delete button. So if you see, not in the user form, user list component. In the user list component, if you see, we have a delete button right here, and we will simply bind a on click listener to this button. So we will be giving a on click. So whenever you click this function will execute handle delete. And this function, guys, user, you will be passing the current user, the ID property underscore ID as an argument to this function. So this function is not defined. We need to, whenever we are calling this user list component right here, we just need to pass this as a function, handle delete. So right here, whenever we are calling the user list component, we need to pass this handle delete as a prop, this function handle delete. So now we just need to define this handle delete function right here at the very top. So here we are defining this handle delete function, guys. If you see, this is a function that we are passing right here, handle delete, and we need to get this function right here. So just pass it handle delete. Like this. So just make sure while you are calling this, make this interface, make interface right here. Once again, interface user. This will actually contain three properties. Name will be of type string, email will be of type string. So here we will be simply inside this component, user list component, we will have this user list props component, and we will have this I think this is user list component. We haven't made this. That's why the error is happening. We just need to repeat the same process. We did this inside the user form component. If you see, we made this user form props and user. Same thing you need to do this for this also. So I just made this. You will see that after you do this, you just need to pass it as a property. So you just need to write like this. Simply let me write it and explain to you what is happening right here. You will see that this is a user list prop. It is taking this user interface that we defined, user option. Handle edit we haven't passed. So at this moment of time we are only passing handle delete. So whenever this function will get automatically called handle delete. So right here whenever we are calling it handle delete, so here we need to add the missing attribute handle delete. So user list component right here. Let me just delete it for now, handle edit. So now this error will not take place. So we just need to define this function right here, handle delete. So what this function will do, it will actually make a simple fetch request to the backend Bun.js API. Here we will be passing the ID as a string to the you make a simple await request, fetch http localhost 3000 /API /users, and here we will say question mark ID is equal to, we will pass the ID. Just make this as a backtick symbol so that we can pass the dynamic variables. So inside this object we will pass the method to be delete, and after that we can simply fetch, again call this fetch users method to actually update the UI after we delete the user. So now we need to actually make this request in the backend. So just open your server.ts file, and right inside this we will actually make another if block. This time it will be for the delete request. So we have this get request, we have the post request, and now we will simply make the method for if the method is equal to triple equal to delete. So in this way we will compare if the ID is not there, then we will simply return a response back to the user that ID is required for deleting, and here we'll pass the status to be 400 and also pass the headers. This ID that you see, we will be getting this ID right at the top. So we can actually get this ID using this search params and get ID. We'll get this ID by using search params. So we'll be getting search params and part name from the URL which is submitted by the user, and then we'll get this ID parameter. And here we are simply checking if ID is not defined, then we are simply returning this message to the user that ID is required for deleting. So after you do this, we just need to, if the ID is passed by the user, in that case, we will simply make a console request, delete request doing. So after this, we can simply in try catch block, so in the try block, we can simply say await users, and it contains a method delete one, and here we'll be passing the ID parameter to be new object ID. So object ID is basically available in MongoDB. We have imported this from this MongoDB package. So it converts your ID into object ID like this. And after you delete this, you can simply return back the response to the user, return new response, We'll use a json.stringy file, pass the result and the status property to be 200 and headers also. That's all. This is all for the delete request, and if you now refresh your application, click on delete. I think you need to restart your server. That's why you are seeing expected a response object. Okay, just need to restart. So now you can see that as I'm clicking the delete button, the users is deleted and we are actually getting delete request doing, and it returns a JSON response to us. So only one record is present. First was two records. So we are one by one deleting the request. So if you check your table, there will only be a single record available. You will see this is a single record. Now we are fetching the records from the table. We can add a new record by providing name and email address. We can even delete them as well. Just put dot here. We can edit functionality is remaining. We can delete this, add this, or read this from the table. Now in the next section, guys, we will be tackling the how to update a record. If I click the edit button, pre-populate the values and then edit or update it. So now guys, at last we will be tackling about how to update a certain user. In the last section we look at how to delete it, add this. Now if I click the edit button, I need to show the update button. So how to do this? It is slightly complicated. If you just go to your app component app.tss file, so here we need to define a state where we will be storing about our edited user. So just define the state, editing user, set editing user, and initial state of this will be use state, and we do need to define our user right here, and we will simply pass it here the user initial value. If it is not defined, then in that case we will put it user. I think this is, yeah, okay, user null. I think we need to write like this. So let me paste it. This simply means that we have defined this use state like this, and for the editing user, so this is actually a variable where we will be holding the reference of whichever user we need to edit or update. So this is required. So after you do this, we also need to pass one more method to this user list component. This method will be equal to handle edit. So here we'll be passing this function handle edit. We do need to actually define this function. Similarly, in the last section we defined for handle delete. So handle edit, this will again be a async function. And now in the user list component, we do need to add a property here, which will be handle edit. User will be passed to this of the type user, and it will not return anything, so void. So after this we just need to add this handle edit. So you can now see there will be no error right here. We are passing three functions to this component: handle delete, handle edit, and the number of, this is the array, the user's array. Three properties we are passing it. Now we just need to define this handle edit function. This will simply change, or it will actually, the user will be passed here to this function as an argument, whichever user the user selects. So we simply need to, here we need to say set editing user and pass the user to it. That's all. This is all the logic that we need to define here. So we actually are defining set editing user. We are calling this, and we are equaling the editing user to whichever user it has been passed to this function, like this. So after we do this, now we need to go to the user list component, and right here we need to bind it in the edit button right here. we need to similarly bind a on click listener. So whenever we click the edit button in the browser, this on click will execute, and here we need to simply define or call the function handle edit and pass the user. That's all. So as we click this button, this function will execute. You can console log the user as well. So if you try to click the edit button now, you will see this object will be passed, a user object, whichever object that you select. Email will be passed, name will be passed, and the ID. This is the ID that we need, the primary key, in order to update the record. So now we are getting this user, we are set editing user to user. So now it becomes very much easy. We now need to, after we do this, we now need to go to the user form component. So inside this user form component, guys, we now need to define a new state for update process. So whenever we are calling this app.tsx like this, so here we are passing the user form, we are calling the user form, and here we need to pass a property editing user. This will be a simple editing user, passing the user, whichever we just equal to set editing user. We are simply passing to this user form component. So whichever user the update operation is going on. So we are simply passing this editing user to this component. And the second thing we need to pass is this function, set editing user as well, this function. So this function we also need to pass. So set editing user and set editing user. So this may sound slightly complicated, guys, but you just need to do it. And we need to go to user form, and if you see, we have defined this editing user and set editing huge in the interface. And right here we need to add this set editing user and editing user. So just make sure you define like this. Change this, and now you can see that. So this is a user prop. We are using this interface which contains these three properties: fetch user, editing user, and set editing user. So right here, whenever inside the use effect hook, whenever you are calling this use effect hook, we do need to now make this use effect hook. This will only execute when the editing user value is changed. This is a slight question mark right here. We are passing editing user as a dependency. So this will only execute whenever this property is changed. Editing user has been changed. So this will execute only for update operation. So here, right here we need to check if the editing user is present, if the editing user has a value. In that case, we need to say set name to editing user dot name and set email to be editing user dot email. In the else block, we just need to reset the value, set name to be none and set email to be none. That's all. This is all. The rest of the process will remain the same, and now we need to go to the form right here and conditionally changed the label of the button based upon whether the editing user has a property or not. So right here, instead of hard coding add user, we can simply check if the editing user has a value. In that case, question mark, ternary operator will come, then have update as a label. If the editing user is not defined, in that case simply say add user, like this. So if you now see, add user will be there. As I click the edit button, the values will come automatically right here. If you see, pre-filled, and the button text will be changed to update. So if I click update, so it is actually adding the user, but we need to change the business logic in the handle submit function. So right here we need to add a condition right here in the handle submit function. Right here we need to add a condition right after if editing user has a value. In that case we need to perform the update operation instead of adding it. So in the else block we can basically add this, copy paste this code. So now inside here we need to update. So now for updating it, it's very easy. We'll provide actually called http localhost 3000 / API / users. Just make it as a backtick symbol. We will be passing the ID. So question mark ID is equal to editing user dot ID. We need to pass the ID right here. So ID, and then the method here will be put, which is for update operation. Then we need to pass the headers as well, which is content type uh, application / JSON, and then we need to pass this body as well, which is JSON.stringify name email. That's all. That's all that we need to perform, guys. Now the update operation will be performing. So that's all that we need to do right here. And you just need to move this code, which is this set name set email, outside of this if block. Irrespective of whether we are updating or adding, we need to perform this operation. So you will just add outside this code right here. And also one more thing we need to do, set editing user to be null. After we are done with updating, we just need to update this value, reset the value to be null. That's all. So right here we need to define this update put operation in the backend API. Just open your server.ts file and write another if condition, this time for the put operation. So just before the delete operation right here, we have a if condition for the method. If the method triple equal to put, in that case we will say if the ID is not defined. Similarly, we will return a message to the user that ID is required for update operation, for updating a user. And here we'll be passing the status to be 400 and also pass the headers. If the ID is provided, in that case we will update the user based upon the ID submitted in the try catch block. So right here we will basically parse the body passed request.json, and we will basically console log message updating a user. So it basically provides us a method which is update one. So right here we need to provide the ID, and which is actually new object ID. Then we also need to provide $set. This will be the actual body, the updated object, the name of the email. That's all. So after you do this, you will simply return a message to the user, json.stringify result, and status to be 200, and headers, you will pass the headers. So headers is important. You need to pass headers in every request, because if you don't pass it, you will get a course origin error. So the application is done now, guys. If you just refresh, just restart your application after you make the changes, npm run start. So if you want to change the value, click on edit, change the name property, let's suppose. Update, you will see that the name has been updated and it has been reflected, and if I check the database as well, the name has been updated to Gotham. So once again, if I want to edit this value, change the name and the email as well, click on update. So both the things are have been updated. If you see in the database as well, you can update, delete, add new entries, fetch, all these things you can perform, guys. So this was a user CRUD application that we built inside Bun.js and React.js. It's a full stack application, and thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel as well. And if you need the full source code of this project with full documentation of and support from me, the link is given. You can directly go to procodestore.com and purchase the full source code. And I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Until then, thank you very much.